let's talk Tamron glass. What's up everybody, my name is TJ from Mark Photography, and I am coming to you on Camera Exchange's channel today to talk to you a little about the Tamron 70-300 f 4.5 to 6.3 lens from Tamron. I got a chance to use this lens over the weekend, and I will tell you, I am thoroughly impressed with it. It fits right into Tamron's lineup with their ultra low weight lenses, and it is a welcome addition for me. I am a portrait and wedding photographer mostly, but I do dabble in other spaces as far as photography, and I can see this lens finding a home in my camera bag for future paid work. So a little bit about what I did. I got a chance to go to the San Antonio Zoo to catch some of the animals out there. Perfect place to test out a lens just as this, with the 300mm on the telephoto, and get you right up close to some of those animals and get you that extra reach that a 70-200 just can't get you. I also took it to a wedding this past weekend that I shot, and just to see if I could work it into the rotation. Now a 70-300, 4.5 to 6.3 isn't something that I would typically put in my camera bag when I am headed off to a wedding, but I wanted to see if it could fit, potentially fit in somewhere into my workflow, and the results were, pretty interesting. So a little bit about this lens. It is 5.8 inches long without the lens hood. It is 19.2 ounces. Super light. I was able to walk around the zoo with this, and I handheld most of my shots. Actually, I handheld all of my shots. I was meaning to take a tripod, but ended up forgetting a plate to mount it. So I ended up hand-holding all of the shots that I took at the zoo. One of the things I found myself liking most about the 70-300 is the weight. I ended up forgetting a tripod, but hand-holding this lens has been just a breeze. I've been here for about 30 minutes shooting all the animals and wildlife, and it's really no heavier than the 28-75. So it's a pleasure to hold. The in-body stabilization of the Sony is working extremely well with this lens. So yeah, this is a fantastic telephoto run and gun lens. It was just a pleasure to hold and to use. I didn't find myself getting tired or having wrist fatigue. I even shot some of the shots that I took one-handed, because I had a camera in my other hand that I was filming some of the footage on. So I was I was extended all the way to 300mm, shooting one-handed at 300mm. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, the in-body stabilization took care of the heavy lifting, and I, either braced my arm up against my body or just did the best I could holding completely still. And I was able to nail some shots that I wouldn't otherwise get with a 70-200 2.8 because of the weight. After a couple of seconds holding that with one hand, you will, start to shake a little bit. That lens is extremely heavy. And I think that's one of the things that this lens does extremely well. It is lightweight. I mean, that is, for me, the main focus of this Tamron lens is the weight. I mean, this is something that I wouldn't mind putting in my camera bag on a long trip where weight was an issue, or if I wanted to save space, again at 5.8 inches long. This isn't going to take up much more room than the 28-75 2.8. It's actually, not that much difference in the size comparison between the two. So, it's very smart of Tamron to make such a lineup that is so compact. And I can safely say, if I was traveling and I wanted to pack extremely lightweight, these Tamron lenses would be the first ones to make it into my camera bag. You have your 17-28, you have your 28-75, You also have a 70 to 180, which I don't have here, but then you have your 70 to 300, which on the telephoto end gives you a little bit more reach at the sacrifice of a slower aperture. But you know, I would feel comfortable shooting any type of situation with this lineup right here. So definitely a great lens for sports and wildlife. Like I said, I'm not a wildlife photographer by any stretch of the imagination, but getting some of these shots out here super easy with this 70 to 300. I came out here probably about right before lockdown last year with the 70 to 200 lens, and I found myself wanting a little bit more reach, and you know, today I have that. Some of the shots that I wanted to get last time I wasn't able to get, I was able to get some of those today, just because I had that extra 100 millimeters of reach. So and it's way lighter way lighter than the 70 to 200, and it's just been a joy to carry. I haven't had to put it down once. A little bit more about the Tamron 70 to 300 is it has a 67 millimeter filter thread, and why that's important is because all of Tamron's lenses in their lineup have a 67 millimeter filter thread, and I just think that is genius. 67 millimeters is the filter thread is a pretty standard size. I had 67 millimeter filter threads before I started you know, getting Tamron glass. It's a common filter size. There's a bunch of lenses that I have that use the 67 millimeter filter thread. So being able to buy one, you know, quality filter, either a ND filter or a UV filter, and have it on all of my lenses is just, it's awesome. All right, so I am back from the zoo, and I wanted to take a look at some of the images that I was able to capture with the Tamron 70 to 300. And the first images that I took here of the hyena. Now, the thing about the hyena was, it was an overcast day. The sun really wasn't out. He was standing under a tree, so you know, it wasn't the brightest of conditions. I'm shooting at ISO 1000, 1/200 for the shutter speed, 6.3 on the aperture, all the way out at 300 millimeters. That is probably, you know, best case scenario with this guy. He wasn't coming out, he wasn't walking around. Right after I took this picture, he laid down and he's in the shade. Am I happy with this image? Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it came out. There's a little noise going on in the shadows, but that's to be expected when you're shooting with a little bit higher ISO. I'm shooting at 1000, but it can easily be cleaned up in post. Sharp on the eyes. I love the way it came out. No complaints here on that. This guy here, this bear was pretty funny. He was kind of lounging, and he was pretty close to the edge of the enclosure. He was probably only about 30 feet from me, from the gate where the enclosure was, over the moat where he was sitting. And I was able to reach out 300 millimeters again and get some really good detail. You can see the dirt and the twigs and everything in his fur. You can see his eye, all the details around his eye, his pupil there, even the reflection in his eye. Really happy with this shot and how it came out. Again, the Tamron lens was super fast autofocus. I was able to grab onto his eye, get the shot, and you know, move on to the next animal. Got our leopard here, and the reason why I kept this image is because we zoomed in, or I zoomed in on the leopard. I'm at 178 millimeters, but I was able to catch his eye and focus on his eye through a chain link fence, which is really good. I mean, there's been situations where I've tried to shoot through chain link fences and it kind of hunts and goes back and forth and it doesn't know what to focus on. But I was able to get it. Eye is pretty sharp. We got one of the links of the fence coming through right here, so it, you know, it kind of gives a little bit of a distortion right there with the color and all that, but the eye is in focus, the eye is sharp. We got our flamingos here. Man, flamingos, if you go to the zoo and you're taking pictures at the zoo, the flamingos are a staple. You're always gonna take pictures of the flamingos. They're pretty and pink and they're ready to, you know, pose and take their shots. So these guys here got some really good images of them. You can see the background separation even at this f6.3. I'm at 300 millimeters. The background is compressed, blurred out. Really nice bokeh. I was really happy with the bokeh that I was getting from the lens. This guy right here was a little bit further away from me, so there's not as much compression, but the background blur is still clean. So one last one that I wanted to showcase here was these elephants. Now, these are at 209 millimeters. I got this shot last time that I was at the zoo with my 70-200. You know, this is even a little bit further because it's 209 over, you know, more than the 200. Was able to get this shot of the elephant, you know, full, you know, pretty much filling the frame. However, when I went back with the 70-300, I was able to get stuff like this. And this is the kind of stuff that you're not gonna get with a cell phone. This is the kind of stuff that you're not gonna get with a kit lens. This is the kind of stuff that you only get with a telephoto lens that has the reach and has the capability to reach out and grab your subject and bring it back to you. And these elephants, it was actually funny because they were like roughhousing, and I guess they don't usually do that because even the zookeepers were kind of like laughing, and I thought it was really funny because they were like roughhousing and playing around. So I thought that was pretty cool. This is one of the things that, you know, you can do with the 70-200 if you're a wildlife photographer. This is the lens for you. If you're a sports photographer or getting into sports, this is the lens for you. It's lightweight, it's compact, and it can get the job done. There's not a lot of lenses out there that have these kind of capabilities at this price point. And this is the lens that can fill that need, especially if you're just getting your feet wet and getting into sports or wildlife. This lens is definitely not only an entry-level lens because of the price, but it can also handle a lot of pro needs. Just because it's light doesn't mean that it can't keep up with some of the faster glass and some of the better glass out there. So, you know, it does have its place, it does have its strengths and weaknesses, but that's up to you to figure out. And ultimately, I think that this is a lens that is going to go in my camera bag. So if you're in the market for a telephoto lens, the Tamron 70-300 5.4 to 6.3 lens just might be the lens for you. It's light, it's compact, and at $549 is significantly cheaper than anything in Sony's lineup at similar focal lengths. So that's going to do it for me. My name is TJ from Telemark Photography, and I want to thank you for stopping by Camera Exchange's page to learn more about this unique lens and what all it can do. See you next time.